Luigi's Mansion was an incredibly unique title for the Nintendo GameCube. It was revealed back in Nintendo Space World 2000, originally just as a tech demo. Soon after, Nintendo decided to turn it into its own game. It was just kinda designed around this sort of dollhouse concept, with rooms having 3 walls visible and the viewer looking in with a Japanese-style ninja house. During this time, Mario was actually considered as the main character, but as they continued development, they had a focus on lighting and shadows to showcase the GameCube's power. This sort of shifted the feel to a haunted mansion vibe, and the team then went with that. This is when Luigi was subbed in, as they felt Mario wasn't really going to get scared in that situation. A lot of the game's features kind of came from showcase desires, such as the game's elements, but ultimately it wound up making a very gripping and fun game. The visuals, the gameplay, and the sound are all phenomenal. I love Luigi's Mansion. The OG still stands up and is always worth a playthrough, like once a year in my opinion. Something about it is just so charming, whether it's the sort of off-model Luigi to the completely new locale and foes. The game itself isn't very long either, whether you 100% it or not, so it can easily be played through in a single session. The second and third kind of lack this one's replayability and charm. I did enjoy Luigi's Mansion 3, but I haven't ever really felt the desire to play through it again. The mansion in the OG just feels way more real, connected, and captivating, whereas the mansions in the others are more akin to like a theme park mansion. Plus, I just really prefer the original's method of capping ghosts instead of the press A to suck. So I figured this would be an interesting challenge to unlock every achievement in this game. The majority of my knowledge was the any % no out of bounds speedrun I used to run frequently, so I figured why not get a refresher on the 100% since that'd obviously be a requirement. This one isn't as rough as Majora's Mask, but it was still a bit challenging. Luckily, it only boils down to 2 fairly short runs. The goal of the first run is actually to get the worst mansion, the rank H. This is done by getting less than 5 million G by the end of the game, which might sound like a lot, but even a single pearl is worth 1 million. And if you're given the good suck, which, come on. Of course we are. They pop out of the bosses mid-fight. Anyways, heading in, we follow Luigi's POV as he enters his very real and very not haunted mansion that he won in a contest he didn't enter. Ahead of you is a webbed door, and heading upstairs only reveals a locked one. Deciding to pull a Karen, we start looking for a manager before noticing a peculiar floating and non-ominous key. Bingo bango. Huh, I guess it shrinks too. Taking in the sights of the parlor, we are soon assaulted by a spooky specter who gets a taste of his own medicine as an old man does the same and attacks them. Clearly using hacks since he didn't use a flashlight to stun them, the old man still manages to get bodied and laughed at for taking an L with a handicap. He then explains his name is Professor Egad, who coincidentally is one of my favorite Mario side characters. Noting how the house seems to have more ghosts every day, he asks what brings old Luigi around the neighborhood. But before he can respond, the duo gets a dubious drop of demons and decides to book it.
So, your name's Luigi, eh?
Yeah.
And you responded to a contest you didn't enter.
Yeah.
My boy, do you know what a phishing scam is?
What, like a bass or salmon?
Never mind.
Egad explains that in the 20 years he's been here, the mansion only appeared a few days ago. He then offers to help train you in the art of stopping spirits. This will actually be our first achievement, as one of them is simply to hear Totaka's song. It's a simple melody that's hidden in every game Kazumi Totaka has worked on. I was first introduced to it back in Animal Crossing despite having played some of the other titles the song resides in. The method of accessing this is by sitting on the tutorial screen for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. After doing that, you'll hear... and unlock the first achievement. Next up is reassuring the professor that we're the worst man for the job. Normally, the game takes this time to teach you the basic gameplay loop. We'll be using it to disappoint Egad twice. To turn the first upside down frown upside down, we'll need to die! This can be done by sucking. Quite literally, actually. If you try to capture a ghost and don't pull back, Luigi will get dragged along the floor and lose HP. After dropping to 0, it resets, and you can simply avoid capturing any ghost to annoy Egad and unlock the achievement. On the opposite spectrum, bagging all 10 Banshees will unlock the Ghost Bustin' Chibi. Now, into the main mansion, we start things off by talking to our friend Toad. See Toad? He's our friend. We will be talking to Toad often as Toad allows us to save, and seeing as how there are missable achievements and we don't want to do a third run of the game, we'll be saving quite often. Clearing the parlor, the anteroom... Anteroom? What? Ants go in here? Ugh. And the wardrobe room will spawn a key. It's technically faster to just walk back to the locked door, but by scanning the mirror, you can warp to the lobby and unlock an achievement. Heading to the door, EGAD alerts you that ahead are some spookies known as portrait ghosts that escaped from his gallery. And for whatever reason, they never really brought this back to the series, instead having these minion-esque abominations in future titles. I mean, 3s were okay, but come on. This game has Nigel Thornberry. So the way these battles work is every 10 or so HP, you'll want to pull back on the analog again and you'll optimally suck. And if you get a ghost in one suck, you'll net a big pearl, but this was our 10th run, meaning I had essentially surrounded myself with run-ending pearls. They can't be blown away, but luckily they do despawn with time, allowing Luigi passage. After heading the hubby, we walk to the wifey to give her the cold shoulder before helping her go down into the vacuum. In the hallway, we hear a Twitter user upset that someone was enjoying something they weren't.
Why was this on my timeline?
You just retweeted it. What?
I'm gonna kill you now.
We got ratioed so hard we shrunk, and this wasn't helped by the fact that I hadn't actually played the game in a while, so I performed this boss I should have been able to two-cycle suboptimally. It is a straightforward fight. You essentially dodge and then wait for Chauncey to be ballin' before bopping the balls back at the babby to boot their snoot and put them in your vac. It's technically possible to one-cycle Chauncey with a specific setup, but I was still stuck on the ancient knowledge of letting Chauncey go before he hits 50 HP, as going below that triggers an extra cycle, and I even bungled that! But whatever, ironically, good sucking in the sucky mansion category isn't really a requirement.
Good job, Luigi. You made it back in one piece.
I thought I made it back in Luigi's mansion.
Back at the lab, you'll turn the ghosts back into portraits while the prof shows off his sick Naruto run. Then the scoreboard shows that we're well on our way to a terrific tent. Back at the mansion, we can now enter the first double doors. Time to take a piss. But alas, the bathroom's occupied by a couple of glomp ghosts who are quickly disposed of with a dirty double. Down at the ballroom blitz, you can appreciate just how finicky the flashlight stuns are in this game as you try to double suck the Shy Guys, and so frequently have the game just say, nah. When the floor is cleared, the star performers, the Floating Whirlindas, canon name by the way, will join the stage. By standing on the spinning floor, they'll eventually strike a pose, allowing you to worm your way in and force them into a really sucky polyamorous relation. They'll drop a key leading to storage, where you can then put your finger on the button. Then push the button. This will open up the Boo's bedroom, releasing the 50 of them, and King Boo, who will talk all big until they see you're carrying a weapon. They scram, and the prof calls you and mentions how it was actually the Boos who released the ghost from his gallery, and beckons you back to the lab after unlocking your achievement. EGAD further explains the Boos must have taken Mario, and that their strength grows the more of them are in one place, meaning you need to slowly whittle down their numbers to stand a chance. Heading back, there will now be a Boo hiding in each of the rooms that have their lights on. Your Game Boy Horror will flash whenever one is nearby. It's safe to assume that after every cleared room, you'll be snagging a Boo. After bagging 5 of them, EGAD will tell you that it's time to take a piss, where you'll find a sobbing Toad who you can promptly ignore while you pull a James Sunderland to get a key. This will unlock the Fortune Teller's room, which will be used later. In the meantime, the side room will have you attacked by reverse vampire glompers, and then unlock the fire element, along with an achievement. With this metal, you can suck up elementals and shoot fire out of your vac. Now, I don't know why, but for some reason in this section of the game, I just always forget to do something to progress. So after jobbing a Boo cap, I wander around like a fool until I remember I need to light the candles in the Fortune Teller's room to get a key. Thank God I'm not doing this a second time where I totally won't forget to do something in this section. With the key obtained, you can light Richard Nixon on fire and follow him to the butler's room, grabbing Mario's hat out of the laundry on the way, and then giving him the old shrump down, suck down. After clearing the laundry room, I forgot that the game tells you what's in a chest by color coding it, and surprise, surprise, green means dosh. I was a dumb, and I didn't save after every Boo, fearing that I might lock myself out of something, but in turn, I only locked myself out of not redoing this section again, so after rebagging the butler, we head back to the music room to slam our hands on instruments, because that's how you play them. Impressed by our raw talent, the lovely Melody appears and quizzes us on our Mario music knowledge. When you get it right, she attacks you with paper, which you can promptly suck and then do the same to her. She'll unlock the dining room, housing another ghost and our first optional battle. But seeing as how this is Ace Tentora Tent-to-Tentive, we shall promptly ignore the man. In the kitchen, you can look for a midnight snack and find one, if you're into that. As well as the next element unlocking an achievement alongside the power to do what I do when I talk about Zelda speedruns during Olive Garden dates. Make things wet! In the yard, a heckin' dogger will yip and yap, because unfortunately in this game you cannot pet the dog. But you can distract him with a boner and then- wait. Scanning the doghouse reveals what all doghouses have inside of them. Magical portals leading to the land of the dead. Bop each of the bone boys and the big grave will give off bad vibes you can check to access the boss fight, Bogmire. He is an interesting one. He's actually the only boss without dialogue, as he's not really a ghost. He is listed as a manifestation of the mansion's fear and despair. The boss fight's pretty simple. Boggy Boy will summon some shadow doppelgangers and you'll get annoyed that Melody didn't have this power. You can slam his shadows into him to make him suckable. If you don't get it in one go, the fight just kind of repeats. There isn't much depth to it. There is an achievement to get him in one go, but I was admittedly quite rusty in this playthrough and decided it'd probably be easier to do in the next run as I'll have increased sucking power. Anyways, with Bogmire down, we head back to the lab to be greeted by Egad.
Good job, Luigi. You made it back in...
Even with a couple of pearls procured, we're still in the green, or I guess red for the tent trophy. In the back of the first floor, we can unlock the courtyard and snag some water in the well, where we'll find Mario, stuck in a painting, but gosh darn it, Luigi just had to have the Alfredo last night, so he's unable to swoosh right in. Back up top, Mario's letter can be found in a birdhouse, and we can head back inside, past the second optional, and up the stairs into the tea room. In here, we can grab the Inversion Exertion achievement by capping a ghost while we're on the ceiling, and then unlock the third and final element. Unfortunately, I was a dum-dum and let the boo loose before grabbing the medallion, and they don't sit still during the cutscene. In the second floor washroom, we can use our ice power to give Miss Piggy a cold shower. Unfortunately, she goes hog wild and drops a big pearl right on top of Luigi during the suck. I was not taking this risk, as one big pearl equates to 1/5 of our allotted lack of allowance. However, since I didn't snag the boo, it meant redoing this area again. This time, I grabbed the ice before unleashing the boo, allowing an easier cap as they go slower when they're frozen. Afterwards, I of course save before retry. Are you serious? Running it back again, I have to force myself to turn off my gamer mode and avoid capping the ghost in one suck, so it doesn't even get the chance to drop a big pearl. After, we can head back to the first floor billiards room, which is now unlocked, and avoid our third optional to go to the projection room. The Glumper ghosts just love having a gimmick, so they'll be completely invisible here, and you can only get a vague idea of their location with the projector light. Once defeated, Mario has to hand it to you as you get another achievement. Up on the second floor, you can enter the astral room to light the candles and summon the hot Beelzebub from Helltaker. But you screw up the ritual somehow, and instead just get a bunch of ghosts. Frustrated we can't see Cerberus, we head to blow up the moon so that the comments can have a copy pasta chance here for clout. Destroying the moon and subsequently the tides will form a magical rainbow path to Mario's superstar, which apparently does not give invulnerability. Back in the mansion, we can visit Nana to pelt her with her hobby as an epic prank. Most likely being their caretaker, she has access to the twins' room where we fought Nigel and co. If you twirl their mobile, they'll ask if you want a game with them, and much like kids do when you kick their ass, they start bitching and try to run you over with vehicles. Luckily, with the power of suck, you can banish minors from your platform like I wish a certain social media site would let me do, and then question why they were holding onto your brother's shoe. Back at the fortune teller's room, you can shine a light on the ball to summon Madame Clairvoya, who will basically throw down 5 minutes of lore for each of Mario's items you give her. I'm also pretty sure the thing on her mask is supposed to be an eye, but I could never unsee it as giant lips and buck teeth. She tells you a lot of what we already know. Mario is alive but trapped in a painting. He warns you about King Boo, and she catches a glimpse of Bowser, who interestingly enough was said to have been defeated in this game. Like, dead, but apparently was revived by King Boo. Once her dialogue is exhausted, she will say she's ready to return to her painting and request you give her the good suck. Also, interesting to note, but she actually has a canon English speaking voice. There used to be an EGAD Lab Flash game which had an Ask Madame Clairvoya section, where you could just type in a question and she'd play a random pre-recorded line.
As they say in France, oui, oui. Come on, everyone knows the answer to that one.
No, absolutely not. I mean, no, absolutely not. I am Madame Clairvoyant, but I
For the next section, you actually need 20 boos to progress, and partially because I was rusty and partially because I was avoiding a few treasure rooms, I was down the allotted amount. So after getting booted out, I backtracked to snag some more, and went up to kick off the boo boss fight. On the boo balcony, you'll see 15 boos booing around, approaching the boos, and they'll combine their boo forms to form boo losses. They look intimidating, but they're pretty basic. Essentially, you either lead or suck the biggin into the unicorn horn to pop them. Then using the ice element, you can freeze the miniatures and suck them up. There was an achievement tied to this where you had to hit 10 boos in one blast. But again, after failing the first try, I thought, surely I can do this in the hidden mansion. Surely. Regardless, a couple of cycles and the bitty boos were slurped up into the old vac sack, and we headed back to EGAD's.
Say it.
No.
Say it!
Now, we're in the final part of the game. To kick off this chapter, you need to head all the way back up to the balcony, where once unlocking the progression door, lightning will strike the mansion and knock out the power. EGAD calls you up and warns you that the ghosts will have a run of the place like this, and he's not wrong, as their spawn rate is through the roof now. Back a few rooms, we can take the mirror to warp back to the lobby and save ourselves some trouble. In the parlor, thanks to the increased spawn rate, we can nab another achievement by capping 3 ghosts at once, before going to the wardrobe to rob an old man of his breaker room key. In the breaker room, you can use the breaker in the room to break the blackout in all rooms. Across the hall, the seller will give you a key that you can use all the way back up past the balcony door you unlocked at the start of the area. Inside, you can get a little cuckoo before clocking the clockwork soldiers and gaining access to the roof, where fire will purge the land of its sins and nab you another key to the armory. After smacking some priceless heirlooms, you'll be rewarded with another key, leading you to the final stretch in the basement. This area has a lot of top and bottom back and forth. Down in the pipe room, you can freeze the water to get across and turn a knob to do what I do when I talk about Zelda speedruns during an Olive Garden date and turn things off. Guess what you get for doing that? Seriously, this whole section, the writings just go here, do a thing, and get a key. I'm like, I don't know how to make this more interesting. With that in mind, we'll go somewhere with the intention of getting a key by picking a fight with an ice climber. Luckily, since you are Luigi and they whiffed a nair at 6%, you can give them 93.5% for making a single mistake at the beginning of the game. Once you GG no re, you guessed it, the final regular key of the game, which we can use down here at the... We have to go all the way upstairs again. But not before grabbing our few final boos. In the room, we'll find Van Gogh, who we learn is actually responsible for the majority of the ghosts we've been fighting. As with most Frenchmen, they have the ability to make their drawings come to life. So we'll need to dispose of him and stop the onslaught of ghosts, and not because I'm jealous that he has that power. I mean, why would I even want to make my drawings? This battle consists of you fighting multiples of each of the basic ghost types. And they start bunched, so most can be capped together pretty easily, and if you have an elemental power, you can always drop a few that way. Once all of his work is gone, he'll sob and you can suck him to get the final key of the game.
Good job, my boy. You stopped that madman.
Well, I had to. He ghosted me on my commission. He ghosted me.
Back in the basement, we can unlock the door at the end of the hallway to head over to King Boo. Going for the minimum mansion, we of course head through with the minimum boo requirement, and walk in on King Boo being a little too excited seeing Mario squirm. Taking another dig at Luigi's lack of logic regarding mansion contests, the spooky specter spins to wind, and of course, Vor. Thus enters Big Ol' Bowser for the final showdown. Doing his trademark ball summon and throwing technique, he will summon balls and throw them. And then, using his patented ball catch and release, Luigi can catch the balls and release them back at Bowser to reveal it's actually just King Boo's fursuit.
You're the furry?
Yeah, so?
With the boss Boo bested, EGAD applauds your growth and tells you to grab your bro and head back. Apparently, the entire game takes place in a single night, meaning this was a big day for Luigi. The prof mentions that the mansion built by the Boos disappeared into the night, but for whatever reason, the treasure they made was real? Turn your brain off. One final lap of the portrait maker shows our final ghost and unfortunately spoils the fact that we hit the mark by popping the achievement way too early. Regardless, doing the old reversal, they send Mario back the opposite way to remove him from the painting in one of my favorite little ending cutscenes. find it so heartwarming that after all of that, everything Luigi went through, he can still just take a moment to kind of laugh at the silly situation Mario wound up in. The tear running down his cheek is such a nice little detail and speaks volumes at how deeply Luigi cares for his brother, even if it might seem like he's just having a laugh at his brother's expense. With a cycle through the amazing credits theme, we finally get to see the spoilered splendor of our 10 out of 10 and finish our first of 2 runs. But obviously, there's still quite a few achievements left. The second part of this run is the heftier one, where this time not only will we be 100%ing the game, we'll be doing it in the Hidden Mansion. We'll be grabbing every single gem, diamond, and gold bar. And to top it off, we'll be doing it in the Hidden Mansion. Now, to some, the Hidden Mansion might not seem like much. In the US version of the game, it was essentially the same thing, but with stronger enemies and a stronger vacuum. But we are playing on the PAL version of the game. This includes the actual Hidden Mansion that was deemed too hard, I guess. In this one, the entire thing is mirrored. On top of that, there are significantly more ghost spawns throughout the game, and way less health drops. I won't lie, I really underestimated how hard this is compared to base Luigi's Mansion. This one did actually make it to the US version with the 3DS remake, but I still kind of prefer the look of the OG. I don't know, it just has a grungly little charm to it. Look at that, Luigi. What is that model? I love it. But before we get started on our 100% route, there's actually a quirky little achievement to showcase our speedrunning side. The Mario is Missing achievement requires you to beat the first area within 7 minutes of a Hidden Mansion run specifically. This isn't too terrible, the main focus should be on getting as many doubles as possible, and after getting the key from the wardrobe room, just head up through the doors rather than the warp. As long as you get all the portraits in one suck, you should have time to spare, seeing as how I suboptimally handled balls, but I still pulled it off. The Hidden Mansion is kind of mean to speedrun, but you can tank the hits from the horsies to shave some seconds, and it's pretty key to do the thing mentioned before, where you release Chauncey over 50 HP so you can avoid an extra attack cycle. The time stops when you grab the key, and even with my lackluster performance, I still clocked in with 15 seconds to spare. With that out of the way, the grind began as the max % run started. In the parlor, we can snag a gold bar from the chandelier and another from the vase in the next room. Vase?
Hey, Toad. Yeah, hi.
In the wardrobe room, we'll encounter our first Speedy Spirit. We need to get every single one of these because they hold gold bars and diamonds, both of which are tied to other achievements. These guys are annoying though, since if you miss their cap, you more than likely need to reset, so of course before and after...
Toad. What? I again.
Whereas Toad is important for saving, it is also necessary this run to light up every room, and Toad rooms require talking to them to do so. In Nigel's room, I attempt to snag the next speedster, but unfortunately he throws the book at me.
Hi, Toad.
With a reload, I snag the Speedy and pull a Wallace as I find cheese! The golden mice can either spawn randomly in select areas, or forcibly if you scan their cheese with the Game Boy Horror. They are also insanely important, not just for the extra dash towards the Max Mansion, but because similar to the Speedy Spirits, they can drop bars and diamonds. Luckily, they are significantly easier to deal with as you just give them the suck. Continuing with key features, every portrait ghost must be sucked in either one go or at least to 90 HP in order to drop the big pearl, netting you loads of money and also a golden frame needed for a chibi, meaning if you fail, you need to restart since they don't heal. Luckily, I snagged the mom and pop shop in one slop, but since there is a chance I fail the baby...
What do you want?
Bosses behave a bit different in terms of golden frames. You need to deliver the final suck with 90 HP or more, making a lot of the bosses hitless cause man, they really sting in Hidden Mansion. But now that I've essentially warmed up, I drop the tot and... In Area 2, we get to do the first of a few rat RNG moments, where essentially in the hallway, the golden mouse has about a 25% chance of spawning. If they don't spawn, you can just leave the room and re-enter to roll it again. With a few rolls, I get them and head down to the basement to grab a Speedy Spirit I would probably forget later. Things continue pretty normally for a bit, but of course, we'll be unleashing the booze, soon making Toad less useful, so obviously we better...
Hi.
Back at the storage room, a Speedy can get snagged before letting those boobies out. out, and backtracking to shove them all in the backsack. After that, we play Hall RNG. So one of the achievements is to get every gold bar. They have set spots, but they aren't guaranteed, meaning you'll need to reload the room sometimes. Honestly, getting max percent in this game is a bit of an RNG nightmare. Meeting back up with Toad, if you select goodbye after he talks about his toilet troubles, you'll be one word off from a Mario character saying hell, and then you can tell him it's okay to work towards the achievement. In Madame Clairvoyance, we can take a pick of the lunch leash she brought for lunch to wrangle a rat. Progressing normally, we'll eventually get back to the butler's room, only this time we'll scan the hole to gain access to a treasure room and get our first gem. There are 15 of these we'll need total. On our way back, we can snag Mario's hat and open the chest this time for some golden goodies. Setting Nixon on fire again, we'll bag this beast and pop the pearl in our pouch, before heading to cap a few boos I had let slip through my fingies. After that suboptimal gameplay, we do the good suck on Miss Melody again, before we head to the first optional to grab another speedy and get a quick pick of that oh-so-special chair cheese. With the money bags taken care of, we can finally fight Mr. Lug. Once you give him mood lighting, you have an eating contest with him by sucking his slop, but shortly after, a slew of servants will serve seconds. You can stop their service with a flash or folly, before the fatty freaks out and spits up a spicy meatball. Eventually, the mad lad tires himself out, and you can offer the turn down service to snag another pearl. Then you can let a boo go because you're bad! Back in the kitchen, I was kind of, doing that dead thing that I shouldn't be doing, and I was coming on the boss, meaning it'd be impossible to get the gold. And on top of that, I had forgotten about a golden mouse and speedster in the room, and you need it to be dark to get it. So, not taking any risks, I elected to reset and run it back doing things correctly this time. The rat was stubborn, and it took a multitude of tries to get it to spawn, but eventually we got him. Now, unfortunately, we needed 90 HP, which meant a repeat process of finding a heart and then... Luckily, when you reload the mansion, the heart checks respawn. The drawer in the main area has a chance to drop smalls, big hearts, and nothing. So if you don't get what you want, you can always reset, and when you do, you can save with Toad and refresh all you want. With the water element unlocked, we had to start our gardening job and return to the wardrobe room balcony to grab a few goodies. Speaking of watering plants, it was time to start our first part of a multi-part diamond by watering the plant in the boneyard. This will need to be watered every area from now on. The rematch with Bogmire meant a repeat attempt of the single cycle. It's true that in Hidden Mansion you have a higher vac attack, but the ghosts are a bit more restless. I unfortunately learned as well that every attempt means you need to avoid getting boned, as the graveyard does not allow you to return back to the mansion. Essentially, you can't save after going through the doghouse. So anytime I failed, I needed to reload, dodge the boning, and try again. This did take me a few tries, but luckily it was only about 15 minutes total. The trick is to repeatedly pull back when it seems like Luigi is in control, but when he's leaning forward and being dragged, you want to hold neutral. Not too terrible, and nothing compared to what comes in the next boss challenge. First things first, I return to water the plant before I forget in Area 3. In the courtyard, there are a couple of gems and money drops to snag, and I was also reminded that this area can actually be lit up. I always forget that and assume it's like the hallways. But no, by finding each of the hanging ghosts, and they are a pain to find sometimes, just not spawning because you're like a pixel or two off. You can actually clear the room and light it up, which also nets you a chest. In the game, we can bag another speedster before going toe-to-toe with Mr. Duke Nukem himself, who, if you didn't know, shares a voice actor with Big the Cat. Unfortunately though, there is a gold bar tied to a light, and RNG wasn't kind. But after a while, we grab it and battle. It's a simple enough fight. Sock it to him, let him have a tantrum, and then chew ass and kick bubblegum. The tea room adds more nasty RNG with its mouse spawn, and I won't lie, I was a little tilted. I even got it at one point, but my monkey brain had me open the door to reset after it was too late. Getting it again, I got an achievement showing I was halfway done with Speedies and Mice, but this room isn't even done as it houses a piece of cheese to scan, and the ghosts here are rude. You can't kill them and then scan, so you'll have to scan mid-fight, and they did not want to let me. I actually jobbed it here and died. In Luigi's Mansion, I am a fake gamer. I failed at a Nintendo game. Hello, Kotaku? Yeah, I'll take the job. Running it back, I cleared out most of the ghosts, leaving only a few alive to make it a bit less cluttered to Ratnab. Afterwards, I luckily one-cycle Miss Piggy and then do some hallway hunting for gold bars. I clear the altar room, but I was uneasy because I was missing a gold rat spawn in the hallway. I wasn't entirely sure where it spawned from, but believed it to come out of the end of the vertical hall. I had spent 10 minutes trying to get this thing to spawn, only to realize it will only come out if you are entering from the southern part of the hallway. Funny thing is that isn't even the most annoying mouse in this. If you hate RNG, do not attempt to max this game. Afterwards, it was time for the second optional. Back at the billiards room, you can get a speedy before proving everyone wrong that Luigi will never be ballin'. With simple geometry, and not luck, you can smack this onceler-looking mofo 3 times before doing every Tumblr fanficker's dream and giving him the suck. In the projector room, I guess I was cosplaying their favorite because the Glomp ghosts were ruthless, and I wound up jobbing it again here, but luckily spread the awareness of why glomping needed to stop as part of con culture. A little boo cleanup, I went back to the observatory after I realized I never actually cleared it because I got distracted by rats. This next Speedy Spirit was probably my dumbest fail yet. I missed the initial cap, which causes them to frantically float around the room. You can still attempt it, but you'll have to have a quick reaction time if your light stuns them. I managed to get a pretty sick shot, but was cock-blocked by the goddamn rocking chair with its janky hitbox. I didn't even know this thing could pull a Squidward. This was probably my dumbest reset, and I was so tilted, I even screwed it up a second time. But you know what they say, third time's the charm. I robbed Nana after that, and I make up for it with a good suck. Back at the twins room, I snagged the Speedy and to prep for one of the toughest achievements. The Double Grounded achievement requires you capture both Henry and Orville in a single battle without letting either break free, meaning it's impossible to get them both to low HP and then cap. It needs to be done in one go. A failed attempt requires a reset since you're unable to leave during the fight and it's impossible to reset their HP in the battle. This also means you'll need to do their opening minigame every single attempt. Lining them up is already difficult, but in the off chance you do manage to get them both attached to the back, they frequently run in opposite directions, making a single suck difficult to pull off without letting one or both off the hook. This one took a lot of labbing, but I learned it was actually beneficial to purposely get hit, since Luigi will be granted iframes and one of the twins will more than likely sit on top of him, attempting to damage. This will make it easier to knock off the other while in combat with the first if you don't grab them at the exact same time. You don't have to cap them simultaneously, it just needs to be in the same ghost battle. So after 30 minutes of attempts, I finally managed to knock this one out. There's a good chance this is the hardest achievement in the game, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Honestly, I think I kinda lucked out. Madame Clairvoya then drops lore again, and I realized that due to an earlier reset, I actually lost the superstar and needed to grab it again. On the way, I clean up a bathroom and we go from pissing in there to pissing on the moon! There it is, that's for you, chat. Up in the safari room. How am I this bad at a Nintendo game? The PAL Mansion can't be that hard, can it? Up in the safari room, we cheese Gromit and get revenge on those who wronged me. Definitely not cutting it close again, no sir, that would be crazy. I forgot that the room has a multitude of plants, so I backtracked to snag some water to do my job of getting things wet. It was such a nice job that I in fact had to tell Toad.
And then I got them wet. You know, like the sex joke.
When are you gonna grow up, Luigi?
Never!
So remember earlier in the video where I thought it'd be easier to get the freeze 10 boos in one shot in Hidden Mansion? I was so wrong. First of all, the increased sucking power, that doesn't even factor in. What was I thinking? Come on, past self. Stop being the root of all of my problems. This fight adds a new mechanic of Luigi pretending the old Poltergust 3000 is Daisy and... Well, essentially, you're now driving the vac, and it controls so poorly. It's like the floor is made out of ice, and so are your shoes, and while you're on this ice floor with ice shoes, there's an ice storm blowing you across said icy mediums while pelting you with ice. But the ice isn't a nice thing we want Luigi to have. We want to chill those boos. I retained some of my old speedrun knowledge and knew of a setup to blast the boos. The issue was trying to mimic that movement with a damn motor vac. It was near impossible to make subtle adjustments, and hard to match the speed of walking Luigi. At first I was attempting to do this while staying above 90 HP, but even bumping a boo does 6, and I quickly realized going for both was a lost cause. Essentially, the way the tech worked was going from the side you pop boo to the opposite side blowing at the ground, and then gently aiming up to fire the ice ball once you get near the statue. I was so close to calling it quits and signing up to do another base mansion run to knock out this achievement, but luckily, after about 20 minutes, I managed to fire my ice square and true to close it out. Unfortunately, I did get tagged by a charging boo, which meant 12 damage, so I needed to reset to get the gold frame. The achievement stays once unlocked, so the fight was fine to reset. It did take a couple of tries though to essentially pull it off hitless because man, those Hidden Mansion ghosties are rude. But finally, the big boo was bopped, and we begin the final section of both the run and the entire hunt. To kick off this chapter, we return to the boneyard to finish off the plant and nab one of 2 gold diamonds in the game. I then double-checked to see if I was missing boos anywhere by rolling around at the speed of sound through every room cleared thus far. It seemed as though I was on track, so we went back up to the roof to kick off the blackout part of the game. There were 2 missables we needed to collect this time. The first was pretty simple. After causing the blackout, you can actually go through the door and continue to the telephone room, which was the cause of a few spooky stories. Since the way the game works, it casts shadows from the camera, meaning that when it zooms in for the telephone scene, his shadow appears higher, and this led into rumors of it being Luigi pulling a Sayori. It's completely fabricated though, as it's just a technical glitch. Sorry to open your eyes, but anyway, EGAD does a little ring-a-ding to teach you about Uncle Grimly. You'll get jumped by some ghosts, and after you clear them out, you'll unlock the telephone prank achievement. Next up is more speedy spirits, but these ones only show up right now. One of them can be grabbed in the music room, living the dream of being Melody's chair. The next is found in the treasure room, but the butler's room is swarming with very aggro ghosts. I messed up by not immediately going for the warp and got womboed to death, meaning I had to actually start the chapter over. I'm serious, this part of the game in Hidden Mansion is actually difficult. I mean, yeah, skill issue, but really, it's a tough bit. Anyways, once I got into the treasure room, I wasn't doing too well HP-wise, so I did try to burn him to death. I got a dirty double, which gave me some extra HP and hope. The next speedster is hiding in the chest, and after grabbing him, I hightailed it back to Chauncey's, where one is pretending to be a baby just like I do in Miitopia. Pretending! With the third grabbed, the stealthy achievement unlocks and we can close out the blackout section. My silly self went back upstairs before grabbing the key in the basement, but I did at least light up the telephone room before warping down. My next goal was the absolutely beautiful achievement, where you need to deal 150 HP and capture a boo in one go, which is silly because in my last playthrough I dealt 170 HP to a boo, but since it was 200, it left and I lost. Anyways, my target was the boo in the storage room, which also housed a speedy spirit. Once I cleared it, I went back to talk to my friend Toad.
Good lord, are you still going? Yes.
It took a couple of attempts, but eventually in a single suck, the 150 HP PP was sacked and spat up another chibi for the collection. Now that I actually had the damn key, I could return to the clockwork room, to then get body blocked by the trio stopping me from solo capping the Pearl Pal. You see, with multi-target ghosts like them, only one of them drops pearls. And unfortunately, I was hit during my cap with old Bluester, meaning I needed a reset and a long walk back up to try again. This time electing to get rid of the pearless peeps before going for the solo suck. Things were beginning to weigh on me here, as any screw up meant a long backtrack. I knew what was coming next. On the roof, you can enter the sealed room by climbing one of the chimneys and dropping down. There is a gold mouse in this room, but if RNG is rude, you'll need to warp out of the room and climb all the way up top to try again. Now, I did get it on the first try, but the game spawns like 6 quick ghosts here who, by the way, have their audio stacked, meaning you're essentially hearing them at 6 times the normal volume, so Rippy and Pippy headphone users. Maybe it's because of the whole clone kink thing, but I got flustered and follied to them, meaning not only did I have to redo that room, but I had to re-roll rat RNG. It did only take 3 more attempts, meaning 3 more treks to the attic, plus an extra, because after getting the mouse this time, I elected to warp back to save to make sure I didn't need that RNG anymore. So heading up a fifth time,
Burn, demons, burn! Return back from whence you came! Back to Lucifer, Charlie, and even Angel Dust!
with the room finally lit up, you can snag a ton of treasure and a key to the second to last optional boss. Back near where I farmed for Hall Rat, you can unlock a door to the sitting room, with a few elemental ghosties you can pee on for a hefty dose of foreshadowing. In the guest room, you'll find Sue P, who frequents r/vexillology, and to defeat her, you need to give her hand towel a perfectly placed water stain. But when she sees people online start to call her out on it, she throws a tantrum. Rippy and Pippy. Leaving the room, we'll flip it back to normal, and you can snag the goodies she has in her drawers and plants. After grabbing the chest, we can see we're making nice progress on the gold bars. Continuing on pretty normally, you'll clear the armory and you can enter the ceramic studio. After appreciating the fine art, you'll be approached by Jarvis, who despite your requests won't actually clip that, and instead asks you to play a game instead. It's basically whack-a-mole, where you just ice this nice fellow whenever they pop out of a jar. If you get 7, you'll then get the chance to cap them. With the chest Jarvis leaves, we close out the hide and squeak achievement with our 30th diamond. This room was another one of the incredibly rude gold bar RNG rooms because there were 2, and one of them just didn't want to pop for like 4 minutes. Back down in the basement, we'll grab the second to last gold bar in the pipe room, and head to face off against the ice climber again. I actually had myself and my chat in a bit of worry because I did fail to single cap them. But I got them to 8 HP, meaning they still dropped the big pearl, and I had to repeatedly tell myself it was okay, because the pearl is the decider. A little bit of boo cleanup leads us back to Van Gore. In Hidden Mansion, 5 ghosts will spawn at once, making it incredibly simple to bag the Mr. Heartthrob achievement, just requiring you to catch 5 at the same time. With the Frenchman conquered, we unlock 2 more achievements. Luigi's Art Emporium, for getting the big pearl from every portrait ghost, and It's Lit, for lighting up the entire mansion. Right after that, we can snag the key and battle the final boo to receive a 3rd chibi with the boo you gonna call, as well as the second of the only 2 gold diamonds in the game. It was finally time to close this out. With only a few achievements left, we set out to the secret altar. As soon as we enter, we can close out the Hidden Riches achievement by grabbing the last gem from the chandelier. To the left, one of the torches will drop the final gold bar, but unfortunately that won't pop until the game is beaten. King Boo holds 2 more chibis, the Double Crown and Coroner of the Crown, both unlocked by beating him in Hidden Mansion with at least 90 HP. Problem is, everything they do does more than 10, so this is a hitless run. And similar to the Majora video, I was kinda at the end of my rope at this point. I was so used to the US speedrun route, I was just getting bodied. Whereas hearts can spawn in this fight, more likely than not you'll probably get nothing. Bowser's bombs are also not a guarantee here, as sometimes they'll have a shorter fuse causing them to blow up while you set up. I'm unsure, but Bowser also seemed faster and way more likely to corner you, making it impossible to hit him without taking damage. Of course, every fail meant a skip and a hop from the foyer to the basement. I spent way too long on this, but after like half an hour or so, I finally locked in. I positioned myself to not get hit by the bomb explosions hitting Bowser, and I paid attention to the short fuses. You can tell by the flashes. I did have to sacrifice some optimal gameplay as I didn't feel confident trying to dodge the backwards head segment, keeping King Boo over 150. It paid off though as I stopped the deadly duo, stole the crown, and got 2 of the final 5 achievements. The game unfortunately did the same thing and kind of spoiled the mansion unlock, but it did confirm the art collector, meaning every ghost was gold portrait, and bricked up, meaning every gold brick was acquired. And with that, Luigi's Mansion was mastered. Whereas I did enjoy this challenge, I don't think I'd be as likely to recommend it to others, simply because of the RNG. It is pretty rude at points. I was dead set on doing the hardcore mode for achievements. It gives you a gold border with them, but it means no save states. I guess though if you avoided that and had save states, it'd probably be a lot more bearable. It does, however, have a nice variety of challenges instead of just simply being 100% the game. So if you're a big Luigi's Mansion fan, then probably give it a go. Just maybe have a guide for all the gold bar drops, so you can be sure you don't get screwed too hard by RNGesus.